say that Analytics Africa is a community for data professionals across different fields in data, we decided to make this event something that would be of benefit to everybody. Either you are a data professional, or you are a business person, or you're just a regular individual who does whatever other kind of job. You're a professional. So you're a software developer, you're a doctor, you're a trader, whatever your profession is, because we believe that data literacy is something that is important to everybody. And we went out of our way to find seasoned speakers who are going to talk to us about how data literacy affects us, why we need to understand what data literacy is, and also why we need to take it seriously. And I'll tell you, it's in the little things. It's a lot of little things that we may not take serious. But I mean, when we go into the sessions, the speakers will talk to us and they'll help us to see those areas of our life or those areas of our job or of our businesses where we can do things better with data literacy, and why all of this is also important, why we need to take it serious. And so that's why we're having this event. Just also as a form of announcement, this event is being recorded and is also being streamed on YouTube. So just so you're aware, I mean, that's part of data literacy. I understand that. I need to let you know that the event that you're in is being recorded and being live streamed. So, I mean, I was just saying, helping us understand why data literacy is important. So I like that I'm practicing what I'm preaching. A few other ground rules for the event of today. If you have a question, if you're raising your hand now, please, can you put it down? I know I asked us to raise our hand a while ago for to confirm that you can hear me. Maybe you can just put down your hand now so that I can go with the ground rules and be sure that it's not a legacy hand. So I wanted to say that if you have any questions, two ways. We're going to have a Q&A session after each of the speakers. So if you have a question, you can either raise your hand and we would call you during the Q&A session, or you can drop your question in the chat and we will read it so that our guests will answer it. So those are the two ways by which you can ask questions. Or if you have any other questions, either regarding the session or regarding Analytics Africa, feel free to drop them in the chat. In the next session on the agenda, we're going to have an opening address and introduction to who Analytics Africa is and why we do what we do. So I would hand over to Mr. Tosin to take us through that opening address. Have the mic, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to have you here today. Yes, happy to connect with you, and thank you all for coming. Though the notice was quite short, you joined us, and we hope that you're going to have an exciting time with us today. I'm Tosin Shobukola. I am the convener of Analytics Africa, and we, like Yinka mentioned earlier on, it is a session, or it is an organization that is working to have data practitioners come together. Well, we are not there yet, but the aspiration is to have a hub for data practitioners. And the word I use, or the description I use, is to say a melting pot for data practitioners, which is regardless of what you practice or regardless of what data offerings you have, we want to be that association of data practitioners in Africa and in diaspora. So we are hoping that this day would be a nice event for you. We are always working to make sure that you get quality. For some good reason, this is our first event in the year, but we didn't do any events since January to June 2023, but we will definitely be doing an event every month till December. We will also be communicating with you later on some other new things that we're doing, but I'll just give you the summary right now. So as a sequel to this data analysis and literacy program we're doing today, we will be launching a course in August, sometime in the second week of August, which is going to be a data literacy course on our learning platform. So we would send you details when it is time to go for that course. And it will be a course that will teach you on the nuances of data literacy and how to go about it step by step. One of the modules had about 100 slides, and that was just the first module. So it's a very, very comprehensive course. And that will be launched in August. Same also, our website will be launched in August. It's up and running, but we are going to give it final touches and then make it ready so that you can now register as a community member in August. So look out for those things on with us. Also, we will be doing a couple of events in the following weeks or in the following month. We would share the details with you, but I know we have cybersecurity lined up. We have something on AI, ChatGPT, and all the stuff that you are hearing all over town, so you don't get lost and confused. Then we have something on fintech, and yeah, we have a couple of good people lined up to come for these events. Thank you for coming, and just special mention to our panelists today, who is Sheyi, and yes, I'll also be taking a session. Yinka will give you more details. And also special mention to Amaka. Amaka is joining us from the US. She's one of my former colleagues at Microsoft. And thank you so much, Amaka, for joining. This is well appreciated. Yes, and thank you to everyone. You're all special. It's just that I know it's a lot for Amaka to join. So that's why I'm singling her out. And for those of you that I don't know yet, I'm happy that a lot of people that I don't know are on the group. I'm so happy. I appreciate you, and I really sincerely am grateful to all of you. Thanks for coming. Yinka, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Mr. Tose. We would move on to business now that we have all of this done. And the first speaker that I would introduce, she happened not to be here in person, is Roberta Edu, who we had, so that you not say we are what you ordered is not what you got. So yes, Roberta was supposed to join us today as the first speaker, but unfortunately she had an emergency and could not join us. But I promise you that the impact of her expertise is going to be felt in the session today. And who is Roberta, if you would ask me? Roberta is a seasoned digital expert and technology expert, and she's worked across different industries with over 10 years experience, actually over 2 decades of experience in different industries, in media, in technology, in a lot in media. And currently she serves as the executive director of technology, serves as director of technology at Dentsu Aegis Network. She's also the founder of African Startup TV. Apart from that, something that she also does a lot, she consults for businesses and helps them to be data-driven and data literate, for small businesses, for large businesses, for groups of professionals and all of that. And I think that her wealth of experience is something that would be good for us to learn from. However, in our absence, we're going to have the first presentation or the first address taken by, again, Mr. Tosin, who spoke to us a while ago. And Tosin himself is another powerhouse. He's a technology and innovation leader, and is experienced in data analytics, experienced in data governance, data ethics, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. He has he has over 15 years experience working in all of these fields across lead organizations like InterSwitch, and now currently serves as a senior cloud solution architect at Microsoft. So why am I telling you all of these things about these people? Like, I'm just trying to let you know that we are in good hands and we're learning from experts who totally understand how these things work. And they're also going to help us to understand why these things are important to us and how we can get maximum value for being data literate. So for the first session, which is going to be importance of data literacy for individuals and for professionals, make welcome with me, Mr. Tosi Shobukola. Drum rolls. I expect us to have like drum rolls. Where's the smiley? Okay. So Tosi, over to you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yes, so I'm standing in for Roberta. Roberta has a lot of engagements which have knocked her off, and she's not able to come in. Permit my use of words. But one additional thing that is not so public about Roberta is that she runs a food manufacturing business, and she has a new startup that runs or that manufactures organic baby food. So that is baby food made out of your regular wheat, your regular corn and everything, and it's ready to go. So typically, the only baby food that's like Cerelac, but hers is organic and it's not by the big company. So she runs a company that is doing that, and that recently has taken a lot of her energy. And of course, she has a couple of speaking engagements, and which has allowed her not to be here. So if you look out for Moped Foods, Little Miss Moped. So Moped Food is what she runs, and it has a very nice color. And one of the nice things is that she runs that organization primarily on data. But I know one of these days she'll be back and then she'll come and do nice necessary things. Okay, so I'll just take you introduction to data literacy, and later on we are going to share the slides. We'll put it on our website and also on YouTube so that you can be able to view them. So data literacy is a very simple topic, but it's one of those core fundamentals that if you do not understand, it will affect a lot of things that you do. So data literacy is just as good as being literate. That is, if you cannot speak English, it means you cannot write, you cannot read, you cannot do business, you cannot do a lot of things. So it's the fundamental thing if you want to be able to play with data. So I would run you through a few slides, not too many slides. And I believe I have 30 minutes, correct, Inka?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. So I would run you through, and we go to the Q&A. It's simple. It's not as extensive as what you'll be sharing, but it's just simple, and I hope you're able to get all the necessary benefits from this. So what is data literacy? Like I mentioned, it's the fundamental principle that allows you to read, understand, and communicate data effectively. That is, it allows you to understand what is required to work with data. For those of us who studied computer science, they say data is scattered information or scattered points about an issue, and then information is organized data. That is to say, when you have different bits of information coming from different places, you have it in various formats, you have it in various shapes and sizes, you have it in various dimensions, but when you are now able to organize it, that's what we call information. So the data literacy concept is what we think, which is a skill that allows you to know that, okay, this data or this information that I have, this is what I can do with it, this is how I should treat it, this is how I should respect it, or this is how I should disperse it, or this is how I should keep it. And it's very important because today there are laws around data. There are many laws in the land, but data is also one thing that has its own laws to show you how important it is. So if you are data literate, what does it allow you to do? It allows you to do, we can box them into 4 major components. It allows you to read data. Reading data is an important thing. In our meetup of last year, the last meetup we did last year, I mentioned how people can use data. And one of the core fundamentals is that you need to be able to read data. And I always tell people that I work with or mentor or advise to say, don't think that when you read data is an ordinary skill. A lot of people, just like when we were in high school, or university, and even till tomorrow, a lot of people, when they hear the word mathematics, they just get turned off because they are afraid, they feel it's complicated, they feel it's hard, they feel a whole lot of stuff. It just gives them fear. So the same way people get worried when they hear about data. They think it's complicated stuff. They think it is hard and all this kind of stuff. But I promise you, I kid you not, it is not as hard as it's meant to be, or people think it is. It is not as difficult as people expect it. It is simple, it is easy, and it helps. So when you're able to read data, when you're data literate, you're able to read data. When you're data literate, you're able to analyze data. And what does data analysis mean? That means you're able to get insights. I always tell people that I like to be very, very specific. And this is a very a simple example. What is the time? It is currently past 7 in Nigeria. For those who are in Nigeria, and for those of us who are in West Africa, it is past 7. But past 7, I always tell people 2 minutes past 7 is past 7. 28 minutes past 7 is past 7. Quarter past 7, 15 minutes past 7 is past 7. So when you say past 7, what exactly is past 7? So when you say people who came for the event were many, there are very plenty, as we say in Nigeria. There are many. How many? Because 500 people are not the same as 100 people. 100 people are not the same as 1,000 people. So, and I know we do this in our day-to-day lives, but sometimes we just take these things for granted. So data literacy allows you to analyze data, to take insight from the data. And then when you are done taking insights, you begin to interpret. So if 500 people are there, it means that, or for those who do business, which you will elaborate upon, if I have 5,000 people in the market, it means if I sell this product at 100 naira, I will make profit of or revenue of 5,000 times 100. You're already interpreting data. You're already making decisions. For those of you who do digital marketing, they do a lot of data analysis. It's not complicated, but they begin to tell you that, oh, if 5,000 people see your advert, expect that 1% or 5% or 10% of those 5,000 people will buy the product if your advert is good. So that is data. So sometimes they tell you, try to make sure that 100,000 see your advertisement so that you can have a conversion of about 5%, 10%, so that you can get about 10,000 people. So those kind of interpretations, those kind of analyses are the things that we typically get when we interpret data. And the final stage is communication. Now you have read the data, you have analyzed it. Probably you got the data from 20 sources and you have analyzed them, you have merged them together to make sense. And then you begin to make insights, draw correlations, draw corresponding information, draw all sorts of decisions, and to say a lot of stuff. And I always tell people, this is not machine learning. This is not big data. This is not complicated stuff. It is simple. One is bigger than the other. This one is less, this is more. And in today's world, some people are making a lot of money. When I say a lot of money, some people get jobs doing this alone. Just because a lot of people are scared of data. A lot of people are scared about data, or a lot of people are not just patient. And if a particular adage says the details is in the data. Today we have words, adages like data is the new oil. I like to say data is the new soil, not oil. Yes, you can get a lot of money and insights from data, but I think data is just like soil. And if you plant well on it, it will reap bountiful rewards. The last thing, like I said, is communication of data. It helps you to give the info, communicate to people, drive people to make decisions, drive people to make purchasing decisions, drive people to make hiring decisions, drive people to make investment decisions, all those kind of stuff. If you notice, those who do Forex, they're always looking at a chart or a graph data. Those who do stock exchange, they're always looking at data or a graph. Those in the bank, the bankers live on reports. Everything has to be a report. Everything is about a report. How much did we sell? How much did we make? How much? Even your balance sheet of a company, it is data. So all these and many more that I would not mention because of time are means of communicating with data. So there are four major areas that if you understand them, you will be quite comfortable when it comes to conversations with data. They are very top level. This is like a 5,000, it's not 40,000, but it's like a 5,000 feet bird eye view that allows you to understand basic insights that you should understand when it comes to data. And then in subsequent lectures or meetups or conversations, we can now begin to drill deep into what these require or involve. Okay, so the first one is data visualization. Like I mentioned, charts, graphs, Excel sheets, dashboards, reports, and a couple of things are all classified under what we call visualization. You can see the laptop or the screen on my picture. These here, they are talking about different information, and they are using these different pieces of information are displayed in different ways. This is like a donut, or what we used to call pie chart in primary school. This is a bar chart. This is a new type of visualization. And all of them are telling you various kinds of stuff. So one thing about good visualization is that good visualization will always allow you to understand the data as quickly as possible. When I teach students Power BI and visualization, I always tell them that if you spend time building a dashboard or building a report or building anything, and somebody cannot understand that dashboard or that report in 30 seconds, your dashboard was not successful. And I always use the analysis, I always refer to the newspaper. If you pick up a newspaper, how do you decide you want to buy a newspaper? You scan through, and the newspaper houses, they are very deliberate in the way they make the topics. They are big ones, they are colored ones, they are small ones at the top, they are very small ones at the bottom. They are, and you pick up the newspaper, you scan it, in 30 seconds, you decide whether you want to buy this newspaper, and there are pictures. You decide whether you want to buy this newspaper or not. The same thing with your visualization. If you do visualization, people are meant to be able to read it, people are meant to be able to understand it, people are meant to be able to take insights from it very quickly. Is it growing? Is it reducing? Are we making profit? That's why you begin to say colors like, we are green, that means there's profit. We are red, that means we are losing money. Oh, the thing is climbing, oh, that means it's positive. Or the thing is dipping, that means it's simple, easy stuff. So how does data visualization help you? It helps you to understand data structure. It helps you to understand the patterns and trends. It helps you to ask the right questions. It helps you to make decisions based on data. Again, how many people came for the party last year or for the event last year? So that we can know how many we'll plan for this year. We don't know. There are plenty. Plenty is nothing. Oh, there were very many. There was traffic. That's good. But how many? You understand? Now, if it is visualized, if we have the data, it gives us the ability to say we have information. So if we had 200 last month or last year, let us plan for 500. If we had 300 last month or last year, let us plan for 1,000. And it allows us to get insights quickly. So you can see the man in the image on the left there with the many colors there. You can see all sorts of information showing him. This is what I'm talking about here. All the information here. You can see all the information here. And immediately, by looking at these things, he's able to make decisions. He's able to get insights. That is what data visualization does for you. So what are some of the data visualization tools that we have? There are many, like many, but I'll just talk about the most popular ones. So the most popular ones are tools like Tableau, Power BI, D3JS, which is open source, and we can go on and on and on. We also have business intelligence tools, which are a bit more complex than the data visualization tools like Oracle, BI, SAP, IBM Cognos. There are a lot of them. But these are just the most popular ones. So data visualization is a very critical part of our conversation when we talk about data literacy. Please, I'm seeing some people trying to enter the room. The team should please help admit them. Please help admit them. Okay, so we move on to big data. What is big data? Big data refers, it's a fairly complicated term, but I'll try to put it in simple terms. Big data refers to when you have large and complex data sets. Under normal circumstances, the data that we have or the data storage methodology is usually in rows and columns, like in your Excel sheet. So just imagine your Excel sheets and you have many Excel sheets that are inside a database. Though we call it tables, we call it all sorts of names or indexes or whatever in databases. But just imagine many Excel sheets, straight like that. And then they are connected to each other. That is how data is stored traditionally. But with the rise of additional formats of data and the rise of the fact that data is being pumped at such a high speed, when I say additional formats of data, I'm going to give an example. When somebody says hello to you on WhatsApp, for example, and you reply with a smiley or with a sticker, how are we going to put that smiley or sticker in a database column? Or on an Excel, just imagine putting a smiley or a sticker with Aki and Popo dancing, or a thumbs up in an Excel column. How does that work? It's literally impossible. Or you're on Twitter, you send a message and you attach a picture or you attach a video. Or how did many of you see the invites to this? I believe most of the invites that came were with an image, with a barcode and a link. How do we store the image? Separate from the barcode, separate from the link. So as we talk now, it is 7:32. Imagine the number of tweets that are being pushed right now. Imagine the number as the tweets are going, the Instagram messages are going, the Facebook likes are going, the Pinterest posts are going, all those things. Now, even though all these companies are owned by different people, but you can imagine somebody said he did a tweet and in 30 minutes he had 1 million likes. What kind of database is going to store those 1 million likes? So that is the kind of thing that we talk about when we talk about big data. It is volume, a lot of data. It is velocity at high speed. So we are doing Analytics Africa now. I can see smileys in the Zoom chat. I can see likes. I can see thumbs up. This is just Analytics Africa. Imagine the number of YouTube live videos that are going on. Imagine the number of Instagram live sessions that are going on just in Nigeria or just in Africa at this time. And how many thumbs up, likes, smileys are inside all those chat rooms. So that's what we're talking about here. So now that is in local English or pidgin English, you say per second per second. So you can imagine how many messages are going per second, how many likes, how many Facebook posts, all those things per second. That is velocity. That is velocity. And then the variety. Remember, if you take your mind back, far back, when mobile phones just came out, we could only send SMS. MMS was a big thing, but MMS didn't really work. Today, you still see MMS on your phone and everything, but who cares? When you can just send a WhatsApp message, bam. You can snap a picture. You can snap my video now. And somebody in India is about 14 hours by flight to Nigeria. Or somebody in China, which is about 18 hours by flight to Nigeria, is going to see it in the next 30 seconds. So nobody's even talking about MMS. What is MMS? Multimedia Mobile Messaging Service. What's that? Nobody cares. So we have all sorts of formats in which we send this data around. We have structured data. We have videos. You can be at a wedding party and immediately you have videoed yourself, or you videoed the spouse coming in and the groom coming in, or the couple coming in. You're putting it on your status. Even those of us that did not attend the wedding, we know the color of the groom's shirt, we know the color of his tie, we know the color of the bridesmaid's hair, we know everything that happened at the wedding. Formats of data. Unstructured, structured images, that's variety. Now, variability. Some of this data that we get is good, is already in information status. Maybe things that you download from Statistica, all those websites, or the things that you download from Nairametrics, or the things that you download from Budget. Budget will give you that information in a structured way. But when you get information, when you are doing research for your project, and you get it from a 15 site, that's unstructured. It does not make sense. So we have varying levels of structure, varying levels of compatibility, and all that stuff. So that allows us to, so this is what, when they talk about big data, I hope my little TED talk has convinced you or advised you what big data is about exactly. Okay, so how does big data help you when it comes to data literacy and everything? Now you understand what big data is. So you know that, okay, when we're talking about big data, even if you're a project manager or you're a business analyst or you're in the bank and they say, this thing is big data, you know that we are talking about a whole lot of data. So the storage requirements are not going to be, it's not 1 gig, it's not 200 gig, it's not 1 tera, it's not 10 tera. It is a whole lot of data storage required. You know that it's complicated data and it's coming at high speed. And it is not the same tools that we use for regular data management that we're going to use for big data. We also need to know that it comes with privacy and ethical considerations. It also comes with a lot of analysis that has to be done on that amount of data. That amount, just imagine, let me give an example. In your bank, you need to get your account balance. You need to get your statement from your internet banking portal. At least every bank in Nigeria would have a minimum of 2 million customers. Minimum, every commercial bank, not microfinance. Every commercial bank that has 25 billion naira will have a minimum of 1 to 2 million customers. Now, out of those 1 to 2 million customers, imagine 500,000 at the same time trying to check their account balance, and another 200,000 trying to print their statement or look at their transaction history online or on the mobile app. The mobile app is still also going to connect to the internet banking platform online. So all that is still online. So how do you make sure that is not slow? How do you make sure it works for everybody? Because sometimes when they tell you the problem is a network issue, it's not like the network really is down per se. Sometimes it's the database or the data system that is down. So how do we ensure that these things work well? Also, how do you ensure that when you are requesting for your data as Tosin, as Yinka, as Tokwe, as John, as Ibrahim, as Emeka, you are not seeing somebody else's data. How do you ensure that your account balance doesn't suddenly show up on Facebook mistakenly from the bank when they were doing their Independence Day campaign? You know, all this kind of stuff. So those are things that we think about when we talk about big data. Okay, we'll move on to artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is something that scares people, and I deliberately left the definitions to be long, not to scare you, but at least it is something that you will be able to read and get insights into it. And I deliberately put the two definitions on the same slide because they don't work. They work hand in hand. They're kind of tied together. So there's something that I did not put, which is statistical analysis, which is the foundation of machine learning. By the time I left that out, but by the time you get the slides, it will be in the slides. So there's statistical analysis, data mining, which forms the foundation for machine learning. But let's talk about artificial intelligence for a minute. Artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence in machines that allows computer systems to perform tasks that human beings will perform. When a system is artificially intelligent, it will be able to analyze data, recognize patterns. It will be able to make predictions based on historical information. It will also be able to recognize voice. It will be able to tell you a lot of things that under normal circumstances, computers don't do, or human beings don't do. So, for example, you put your information into Google Maps, and Google Maps tells you the time it will take you to get to a particular place. That's a combination of big data and artificial intelligence. For example, you are in the bank and they want to decide whether they want to give you a loan. And they are not looking at things like whether you are a civil servant or things like that. They are running an algorithm or a simulation or an analysis on your banking history. In places like the US, Canada, the UK, there's something that they call credit score. They look at how much you've borrowed in the past based on your credit card. They look at how do you have a job, and a couple of things. And that credit score, in fact, even if you don't like borrowing money, you typically need to try and get a credit score because it says a whole lot of things about you in the United States and other Western countries. But in Nigeria, just look at it that you want to get a loan. Typically what they say is, how much do you have? Where do you work? How much do you earn? We cannot give you, something like that. Or because you're a civil servant, we can give you. Why? Because people don't resign from civil service and government doesn't owe salary in principle. But that logic has changed. Now, we have seen government owing 6 months salary. Now, we have seen people resigning from government jobs. So, which means we cannot use rule of thumb anymore to give loans. We need to look for a more strategic stuff. And if you've applied for a loan before, they don't give you a loan immediately, apart from the loan sharks. And that comes with a lot of problems. But standard loans, they don't approve the loan immediately, and they don't award the loan immediately. They have to go through a system of checks. The bankers on the call can tell us better. They have to go through a series of checks and approvals before you can get the loan. But imagine all those checks and approvals, a machine does it in less time. What is the whole rave about ChatGPT today? Before, when you needed to write a topic or write on a topic, you have to spend hours researching and combining and compiling. But what has happened? We have a system that has gone all over this internet and has read most of the documents that are on the internet and can even still read most of those documents real time. You type in something, it gets information from multiple documents and multiple information on the internet and presents it to you as if it was a human being that wrote it. That's all the rave about ChatGPT is about. So all the hard work that is scattered on the internet, it gets it organized for you and presents it to you. So you can actually just say, what is data machine learning? And it will get everything from it for you, and it will just pop it out, and you can present it like that at your own risk though, because you need to verify it. So things that we typically could not do normally, machines are doing it for us. Now, where does machine learning come in? Machine learning is one of the components of artificial intelligence. We have deep learning, we have all sorts of stuff. But machine learning is one of the most powerful components of artificial intelligence because it does a lot of statistics, using a lot of statistical methods and models to analyze data, and then helps these systems to be able to now do whatever they want to do that we would refer to as artificial intelligence. Things like classification of items. Is it a dog or is it a cat? Are they human or are they male or are they female? Or, all those simple stuff that we would take for granted. Machine learning is one of the most powerful components of artificial intelligence. Like I mentioned, it's not the only part. You have neural networks, you have deep learning, you have a whole lot of stuff that it goes with, but machine learning helps a lot. Okay, so how does data literacy help your artificial intelligence journey and machine learning journey? Whatever you do with machine learning and artificial intelligence, if there's no data, you can't do anything. The features, the data points, the insights, and everything that you use for machine learning all comes from data. When you understand data literacy, it allows you to get relevant data points that you are going to use for your machine learning algorithm. It also allows you to understand that, okay, this data that I have, if I put it into a machine learning system, it might be available to the whole world. So it guides your decisions. This stuff is not for everybody to see. So imagine, I'll give a simple example. Imagine you have data in your company. Let's say your company is Samsung Television or GT Bank of Africa. And you put information that is secretive to the organization or personal to the organization or your own personal information, and you use it to search for something inside a machine learning engine like ChatGPT. You put your name, you put your address, you put your phone number, and you use it to say, write an essay about me. Guess what? You have fed that system with your data. Somebody in Singapore can be searching on information on things that are related to people, and it will bring up your data. So personal data, official data, and some things are not meant to be used inside some of these engines. That's why we say understanding data literacy, understanding data governance allows you to be careful and know what you are meant to put into a machine learning system or a data artificial intelligence system or not. And also when you get the insights, which will come either as a visualization or as a recommendation or as a graph or as a chart, if you are data literate, it helps you to know that, to be able to interpret it. And going back to some of the first slides, when you have data that is interpretable, what does it allow you to do? It allows you to make decisions. It allows you to give insights. It allows you to make decisions, and you can become a rock star, that kind of stuff. Okay, so we are moving on to the very last area, which is data governance. So today, when I ask everybody, if I ask everybody to put in their date of birth into the chat window, I'm going to be saying things like April 15th, January 14th, May 18th, December 4th. Why? Because people don't like to reveal their ages, especially Africans. That is one of the things. So that is what is called privacy. It feels like if you know my age, then you say I'm a small boy. If you know my age, you talk to me anyhow. If you know my age, you will not respect me. Or if you know my age, you think I'm old. So different reasons. So that is some of the things that we call data privacy. Or if I tell everybody to open their mobile phones, open your banking app, take a screenshot of your account balance and post it on the group chat. Nobody's going to respond to me. Or somebody, I know some people will just play a prank and go on Google and pick an account balance and post it. You understand? Why? Because if you have $1 million or $1 million naira in your account, you don't want people to assume you are rich. If you are in a difficult position financially today and you don't have a lot of money and you have just maybe 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira, you don't want people to assume you are poor either. If you are balanced, you have 300K. You don't want to pay black tax. You know what I mean by black tax? Let's just leave it as black tax. You don't also want urgent 2K to come and meet you. So for so many reasons, you don't want to share your account balance. So I can go on and on and on and on, giving all those kind of examples. Now, imagine a country, imagine a company, imagine a business. Okay, I say it's personal. Okay, you're in business. Share me how much you made from your business last week. Share me your profit details and how much you sold. You also still don't want to do it. You can recall Julian Assange, WikiLeaks. You can remember how many years that guy had to spend in the Ecuadorian embassy in the UK just because he leaked data. Excuse me. And how he went in as a young guy and came out very gray. Excuse me. He couldn't leave the embassy. He couldn't walk away. And the moment he was not complying with the Ecuadorian embassy and they chased him out, immediately they evicted him. He was arrested. Why was he running away? Because he leaked data. There's another guy called Edward Snowden, or Snowden, Snowden. He was working in the US, in the United States, and he leaked data for the United States government. I'm not sure if they caught him or if he was one of the one that escaped to Russia. So he did not run to a state that is friends, when he released the data, he did not run to a country that is friends with the United States because he knew they were going to extradite him. He went to a country that is on the opposite side so that he can get his freedom. That's at a big level. If you tell me something as your friend or as your mentor or as your uncle in confidence, is someone raising his or her hand, Yinka?
Yeah, it's a time check.
Okay, how many minutes do I have more? 9?
Actually, no,
I've overshot
your
it.
time is up. Yes.
Oh, really? Thank you. Okay, I just have one more slide to go. I didn't know. Thank you. All right. So he ran away because he leaked data. If you trust somebody, I'm your mentor, I'm your friend, and then I tell you something or you tell me something, and you hear your story from other people, how do you feel? So those are the kind of things we talk about when it comes to data governance. And data governance is how organizations, businesses control, manage, and protect their data so that it is not in the wrong hands, it is not spread anyhow, it is not carelessly distributed. Lastly, when you have data governance, data literacy knowledge, what does it allow you to do? It allows you to know why a policy was created. For many of us who work in corporates, sometimes the data policies are so annoying. Now, when you understand the implication of data policies and data literacy and data governance, it allows you to understand why they do those things. Data quality is also important because, like I mentioned, you can get data from 20 sources, but what is the original? Which one should we believe? These people are, this data is saying this data is saying that. Which one should we believe? Data accountability and stewardship. Who controls the data? Who manages the data? Ethical data handling or data lifecycle, all those stuff. And then how do we handle the data responsibly? Can I have corporate data on my personal laptop? Can I have corporate data on my personal phone? Do I need to password my phone? Do I need all those kind of things? Those are things that we typically have with data governance. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the introduction part. And I know you would have questions. Yinka would let us know if we would take the questions now or after Sheyi's presentation. Thank you. I hope you have been able to get good insights listening to this presentation. And I hope you have learned a couple of things, and I believe you are able to use this much better than before. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Tosin. I think it's been really interesting, even for me as a data professional. There are two things that stood out for me that I would like to recap. And the first one is where you said your data is useless if it is not precise. And well, with the example of when you say, oh, it's past 7, how many minutes past 7 is it? And I think another angle that I even looked at when you mentioned that was when you say it's past 7, if you don't put the time zone there, it's useless to anybody. So you need to say whether it's GMT, it's Pacific time, it's Eastern time. So it's important that when you're sharing data with people that you are specific the data that you're sharing so that they can make good use of that data. And the second thing that stood out for me is how data literacy helps you to even be a better data professional. And like when you spoke about building machine learning models, you may have the technical skill of building machine learning model and all of that, but if you're not very data literate, you may not have such information like, oh, what kind of data is it okay for me to put into this model, or what kind of data can I not use? Those data governance issues, what makes it know, oh, this data cannot be in the public space, so I cannot put it in the model, and things like that. So I think those were like very key learnings for me. If you have any questions, I haven't seen any questions in the chat, but if you have any, you can still type them. But if you prefer to ask your question, like maybe to unmute your mic and speak, then we'll have to take it after the second speaker. But in the meantime, if you have questions, you can still drop them in the chat while we go to the second presentation, which is from Shei. Of course, the name of the presenter info is Shei Bond. And I'm quite excited about Shei's presentation because you will know why when I tell you. So Shei had her first degree in biochemistry. Yes, biochemistry. She had a first degree in biochemistry and a master's degree in cancer research and molecular biology. So she has like vast experience working in biochemistry and all of those different fields before she made a pivot into data and business analysis. And she has been doing data and business analysis for close to 5 years now. And currently, like she's worked in different industries, and it's just interesting. Like this is just me letting you know that data literacy and whatnot has nothing to do with what you studied in school. Just like you studied molecular biology, you studied biochemistry and then cancer research for a master's degree. It could look like that has nothing to do with data, but the reason why she's speaking to us today is because she's data literate and she's helped like lots of businesses to also be data literate in her experiences working as a business and as a data analyst. She currently works as a data analytics consultant for LSCTF, and she's just like this very vast data professional that I think that I'm convinced, I'm convinced that we'll have a lot to learn from her. So I would hand over the mic now to Shei, and Shei is going to actually be telling us, as you can see on the screen, it's going to help us to see how to harness the power of data literacy specifically for businesses. Shei, you have the mic. Thank you so much for coming to speak to us. We don't take it for granted.
Thank you so much, Yinka, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much to the Analytics Africa team. I'm very excited.
Sorry to cut you off, Shei. Sorry. For a time check, when you have 5 minutes left, I would put my hand up. So you just know that you have 5 minutes left.
No problem at all. I'm even timing myself too. So no problem at all. Thank you. Okay, so very quickly, I know that we just had a power pack session. So let's quickly do an emoji icebreaker. So I want everyone to please put in the emoji that they're feeling in the chat box. How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling right now? I want to see. I can see, okay, I can see a few. I can see a few. I can see only, wait, the rest of us, are we sleeping? I can see only two
I
emojis.
think
Very
some
quickly.
people are putting reactions instead of emojis. So like you need to put
Oh,
an
right.
emoji in the chat box, not a reaction. So yeah.
Okay, great. I can see some very interesting ones. Yeah. Okay, great. So now that I know that we are all awake and we are all alert, I think we can start. I've been asked to turn on my video. So just in case I'm turning on my video now, but in case you feel like I'm not looking at you, I have two screens. I'm likely staring at the big one. So let's talk about harnessing the power of data literacy for businesses. A very huge thank you to Tosin because he has done a lot of groundwork. We've seen what data literacy is, for individuals. Now, what does data literacy mean for businesses? I know that a couple of us here might feel like, I don't know, you are not a business person or you don't have a business, so maybe this doesn't apply to you, but that's not true. As a matter of fact, it applies to you because you could be the one that will help the organization that you work with to be more data literate. And that could literally be your value add to the organization. So it's extremely important that you are data literate, even on behalf of your organization. You may be the one to teach them data literacy. So pay attention, this is for you. So when we say data literacy in business, what we're saying is the ability of a business to recognize, understand, interpret, and effectively work with data. Remember that Tosin mentioned ability to read, understand, interpret, and communicate data. They're kind of the same thing. Now, when you say you can recognize data, it means you can see, you know that you're generating data. There are a lot of businesses that don't know they're generating data. They're literally just buying and selling or just stocking their shops, and they don't know that they're generating data. So a data literate business would recognize that data is coming out of this business. Quick example, maybe you have a retail store that sells clothes. You're just packing clothes, but you don't understand that you are generating data, such as the number of customers that come to your store, the number of clothes you are selling, the colors, and things like that. So you need to be able to recognize data. Another thing that you should be able to do is to understand it, right? Understand the relevance of the data that you are actually generating or in your business, and know in what context it can be used. For example, again, you are in this same clothing business and you see, oh, we are selling red clothes, so that must mean something. Or what is the context of that business, and is it relevant to my business? Can it take my business forward? If you're collecting data in a clothing store that is like, I don't know how many, the hairstyle of your customers is not relevant to your business. So a data literate business or a person should be able to understand data, then interpret it, using different analytical methods and also work with the data in the business. So I have 4 umbrellas here, which are identify. So that means you have to be able to identify the data sources, then apply, which is where you use your analytical methods you apply analytical methods to your data to be able to extract insights that will help you to decide what to do in your business. So I hope that really defines data literacy for businesses to us. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. So you've heard this about data literacy. Why is it important? Why are we talking about this now? We are in the data era. Today's world is a data-driven world, right? And if we are seeing that 90% of the data available in the world today was generated within the last 2 to 3 years, that shows you the enormity of data that is being generated. And with the exponential growth and the increasing availability of data sources, everything is now a data source. it is essential. Even if you want to survive as a human being, let's even start from there. You need to be data literate. So talk less of if you are a business, you need to be data literate as a business. Now, why is data literacy important for your business? Number one is it helps you make informed decisions, right? You're able to analyze data that your business is generating, or from market research, or from other secondary sources, social media and all of that, or different sources in your industry. And you're able to analyze that data and say, you know what, let us make a decision from that data. So it's important because those are the businesses that are making data-driven decisions are the ones that are surviving in this data-driven era. Now, another thing is it gives you a competitive advantage. You can't, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you have to be a data literate business. You need to find the trends and the insights that your competition they are not finding. Case in point, Meta and Twitter, right? I know a lot of us have heard about the Threads app. How many of us have heard about Threads? I'm sure we're all on Threads anyway, So they identified an opportunity. Twitter was saying if you don't have the blue tick, you can't tweet more than so characters, you can't do this and you can't do that. They took that information and they developed it they leveraged on that information to develop something that is a competitor to that. So that has now given them that competitive advantage. Now I'm saying leverage on the information because it's not enough to go and extract the information and find insights. If you don't leverage it, if you don't use it, you are still not going to be ahead of the curve. So it's very important for competitive advantage. Let me just try to rush through this slide because we have other slides that we're going to improve the efficiency, of course, because your processes can now be optimized because you are using data. It makes you more efficient, it makes you more productive. Enhanced customer understanding, because now you can understand the preferences of your customers just because you have data about them. Case in point, Jumia, today you went and you bought headsets like Yinka's own. Tomorrow you went and you bought microphone. And then the day after, Jumia suggested speakers to you. It's because they've identified your preferences with what? With data. They know, oh, it seems this person is either a music lover, an influencer, or does a lot of meetings. So the person is probably going to need speakers. So you will see down there in your suggested section, you will see, people that bought this also bought speakers. They've been able to understand the customer, and you feel happy about that because there are things that sometimes you don't even know you need, but they feel they need to you just by that. So it enhances your customer understanding. Another reason it's important for your business to be data literate is risk mitigation. Sometimes, in fact, a lot of times you can identify fraudulent activities and mitigate the risk just because you are a data generating business or a data literate business. Tosi mentioned something earlier about, if you have banks and they're doing billions of transactions a day. Now, for example, I'm GT Bank and I have a lot of customers. And then I have this one customer which is myself, and I say, oh, I'm always buying things. They see my transactions, Lagos, Nigeria, see my transactions, Lagos, Nigeria, in a supermarket or somewhere. Then suddenly they see a transaction from Italy. Then because they've been gathering my data and they know that, no, this lady always shops from Lagos, there's a problem somewhere. They can actually identify that fraudulent action and mitigate it. That's what data can do for it. Saves your business so much. Another thing is innovation and business growth. Just like I mentioned earlier, when you are a data-driven business, by the time you use the power of data literacy, analyze your data, you start to come up with new products that you probably didn't even know before, and that drives your business growth. Then there's also effective communication and collaboration. And this is, weird as it may sound, teams that are data literate, businesses that are data literate communicate better. Because if, for example, your marketing team, you have three things, your marketing team, maybe your operations team, your sales team, and the operations team in your business is saying, oh, we have to buy red dresses. The marketing team is saying we have to buy the blue one. And the sales team is saying it is black dresses that we should stock. With data, because data is, in fact, in businesses, data should have the final say, right? So when you are singing that song, apart from Jehovah, data has the final say in business. So by the time you put down data and the data says, oh, this is what we sold the most and this is what we should stock, because of that understanding and effective communication and data literacy that is present in your organization, everybody will agree and collaborate and say, you know what, this is what we should do. So that helps your business as well. Finally, adaptability to market changes. Agility is the order of the day. If you cannot be agile in business, you cannot survive. And so data literate businesses are those that can adapt to market changes and survive in this data-driven era. I'll give you an example again. I don't know how many of us are familiar with Darling. The product Darling is hair extensions. Back in maybe 2008, 2009, there was this hair called Darling Yaki Flip, and those old hairs. But as the world began to evolve and began to move, people started doing other things, curly extensions and blah, blah, blah. Darling extension company had to adapt to the changes in the market so that they can still remain relevant, still remain useful in their business. And that's why it is important for you as a business and as a person to be data literate. We can go to the next slide very quickly. Sorry, I'm also looking at my timer because I have some activities that I would actually like us to do. Okay, now, what concepts should businesses really be literate about in data? To demystify data and enhance data literacy, there are key concepts that are essential to know. Previously, Mr. Tosin had talked about a few of them, so I won't spend too much time here. I have outlined, I think, about 8 concepts that I think we should be familiar about. First one is data sources. Now, we need to know where your data is, where you can find and collect your data. For example, customer bases, transactional data, market reports, researches, and social media. It's a major requirement. If you want to utilize data effectively, you need to understand data sources. Another thing you need to understand is data quality. The implications of errors and inconsistencies in data are very grave. You need to be generating reliable data because I always say this thing, faulty data sources means you will get faulty insights. And faulty insights means the decisions you want to bring from faulty insights will be what? To be faulty. And then when you make faulty decisions or bad decisions because of bad data, you're going to crash your business. It's that simple. So data quality is extremely important. Now, data governance, which Tosin had explained in a lot of detail earlier, basically the processes that govern the management of data. So we're talking about access to the data. We're talking about security, data security, and we need to be we need to protect data. So the business needs to learn about data governance and know how to regulate access to data within that organization. For example, DataSwitch is a fintech company, and they have a product called QuickTeller. And so QuickTeller generates, they do billions of transactions every day. Now, it's not all the staff of DataSwitch that have access to the transactions that are being done, because there have to be restrictions in access, right? And so even the ones that have details of transactions, some of them have bits and pieces of it, because that is the way that the data governance works in that organization. So it's important to know about data governance. Another thing it's important to know is analytical techniques, data analysis techniques, know about descriptive statistics, hypothesis testing, data visualization, and so it's important to know what data techniques, analysis techniques are available so that you know what your business needs, what techniques your business needs, and how you can use it to build up your business. Now, data visualization is something that Tosin touched on a lot. And it's basically communicating your insights in a visually appealing way. Now, he said something that is very important. If a person looks at your visualization and cannot understand it in the first 30 seconds, you've not done it well. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Another thing you want to understand is statistical concepts. We're talking about correlation, regression, probability, and so on and so forth. Correlation in terms of causes and effects, understanding causes and effects, what is the relationship between these two variables, and we seeing whether the change in one causes the change in the other. There's also regression where you look at a dependent and maybe one or more independent variables and see the relationships between them. You need to know how to use these things and when to use these things. The next one is big data, which Totin also really, really stressed about. Now, he mentioned things about volumes and velocity and how you identify big data, basically. There are some volumes of data and sizes of data and complexities of data sets that exceed the capabilities of traditional data processing applications, and those are what we call big data. Now, they are usually, of course, not structured, maybe semi-structured, and there's some information from, like, he also mentioned a lot of transactions from traditional banks. Another good example is sensors. So imagine that there's a sensor at what's a popular place in Lagos, Ozumba, Mbadiwe, that counts how many cars are passing every time. It's literally usually almost real-time data, So imagine that there's a sensor that counts all the cars that pass. Do you know how many cars pass there per day? We're talking in the millions. So that's what big data is. And it's worthy to understand what big data is and how to utilize it for your business. Finally, is ethical data use. So just basically having an awareness of the ethical considerations of data, such as privacy and consent. You will notice that anytime you want to, and that's why when you download an app or a software, it will ask you to read the privacy, what's it called? You have to agree to the privacy settings, right? And then sometimes you fill a form, and at the end of the form, you see something about consent that says, would you like us to share data about maybe airline flight bookings with you? And then you can consent, yes. So that's what we talk about when we talk about ethical data use. So it's very important to understand these key concepts, as well as the governing practices put in place to ensure that data is managed, protected, and used responsibly. Now, we talked about these things. We talked about why it's important to use data. We talked about why, what data literacy is for a business. We talked about why it's important for a business to be data literate. We talked about what concepts, businesses need to be literate about when it comes to data. Now, let's talk about how a company can be data literate. So data literacy is a continuous journey. So I said that because it's not something that you just come and say, oh, teach us in 1 week, we are data literate now, finish. Because the data landscape is an ever-changing landscape. Data literacy is also continuous. So it's something that has to continuously be done. And it is vital for businesses to actively foster data literacy so that you don't become left behind. If you have not read the case study on the rise and fall of BlackBerry, maybe you should go and read it so that you can put into perspective what I'm saying here. Now, I've outlined 5 ways how we can make our organizations more data literate. And as I said earlier, even if you don't own a business, this is good for you. Take it to your office and let your office be data literate, okay? So one of the ways is training and education. So you have to train the staff on the importance of data literacy and educate them. Now, you educate the existing staff and then make sure that in the new hires, you are making data literacy a priority and starting to hire data literate individuals. So you are training the existing ones and you are hiring data literate individuals. Another thing you can do is create or purchase user-friendly data infrastructure. This is something that you want your employees or your fellow colleagues to be able to learn fast. So there's no need going for the hard one. The idea of even data analytics is to break down things to you and make it easier. So use user-friendly data infrastructure so that the employees can also be even there to say, oh, let me try this thing. It's not that hard. So it's encouraging them to be more data literate. Another thing is hands-on projects and case studies that can be given, just to help them to get that data literate mind working. Another one will be improved accessibility to data. You cannot be clamoring for a data literate organization. Then you are hiding the data they're supposed to work with to give you insights. So improve on the accessibility of data. Of course, there should be data governance policies in place that should help you to restrict access and work out the authorization of it. But it's important to improve the accessibility through data so that they can work with data. Finally, is data literacy-based performance assessments. Actually, it's important for you if you want to show that you're prioritizing data literacy, you should make it a KPI. That's part of your assessments. That's part of your appraisal that you are a data literate person. So those are important steps that one can take to improve data literacy in their businesses. So these are also points that can be suggested to your organization, the heads of your organization, to make them a bit more data literate. Now let's talk about common industry applications of data literacy. There are 8 here that I've outlined, and more often than not, there are multiple. They can be used together. So you can have a marketing and sales team in the same company, in a finance company, and there's also the human resources department. So they can all be used together. So some of the common industry applications in marketing and sales, you can use data literacy for customer segmentation. You can group them based on their demography, and their customer preferences. In finance, you can use data literacy for financial analysis, where you can analyze, the costs and revenue, and then you can also, again, just like the example I gave you earlier about fraud detection, you can also use that for anomalies and potential fraud detection. So in operations and supply chain, data literacy enables operations and supply chain professionals to analyze historical data, market trends, and external factors to forecast demand forecasting in operations and supply chain. Even in logistics, you can use it to map out your delivery routes. A data literate organization can do that. In HR, you can analyze employee data and look at the performance metrics, find out why people are leaving the organization, what is the attrition rate, what can be done to make our employees more satisfied. In customer service, same thing, basically analyzing your customer feedback and looking for how to improve on your customer service. In engineering, you can use it to analyze performance data collected from sensors that you've built, and do a little bit of performance analysis of your products. In manufacturing, is very good for quality control, where you can analyze manufacturing data to monitor the product quality, check if there are any defects, then implement some quality control measures to make sure that you're rolling out a perfect product. Then in healthcare, which is probably my favorite, is you can analyze population health data, help healthcare providers identify populations that are at risk. For example, let's say there's a hospital and in Alimosho, people that come from Alimosho, they notice they've been coughing, they cough a lot in March. You can easily use that information to identify populations that are at risk for certain diseases that are prone to, or that people who are coughing are more vulnerable to. And that saves lives. So these are some of the common industry applications for data literacy. So yeah, we have 6 minutes more, and I want us to do this exercise together. So these are top performing businesses that are driven by data literacy. And I want us to take 2 minutes and look at each of them, and then think of how they use data for their business. 2 minutes. And then you can start typing it in the chat box. I'm going to turn off my camera for those 2 minutes. So let's look at it together, and then let's type our responses in the chat box. So did we all hear me? just so that I know I wasn't talking to myself. So maybe you should first give me an emoji or a reaction that you heard me and that we're working on this.
Yeah, Shay, we heard you. At least I heard you.
Fantastic. Okay. So let's just think about Amazon, Jumia. I mean, I already gave some examples to be fair. So I talked about Jumia, I talked about InterSwitch, I talked about even GT Bank, I think. So how does Netflix, how does Netflix use data? You know, how does it drive their business? I'm sure that we all agree that these are top performing businesses. I don't think there's any brand here that people haven't heard about. So, okay, great. I can see a few comments. So, Oluwatobi, okay, I have Ayotunde says Netflix uses it for movie suggestions, so Spotify song suggestions and recommendations. That's very correct. Netflix collects data related to movie preferences and could recommend movies based on favorite genres. I like that. So I remember it brought back a memory to me where, now once you have one Netflix account, your whole family is going to use it. And then I started seeing K-drama on my Netflix profile. Anywhere I go, I just see K-drama, because it kept on suggesting K-drama to me based off of what my sisters were watching. I remember just closing that profile and opening another one on a lighter note. But yes, that's exactly what data does with Netflix. Jumia and Amazon use it for customer segmentation. Perfect. So when you see, well, I remember I had to buy baby clothes one time, and in fact, they almost finished my money because as I'm buying one, they'll say people that bought this one also bought feeding bottle. People that bought feeding bottle also bought pacifier, and then they kept on recommending like that. And that's how Jumia and Amazon use it for customer segmentation, just so that they can target the marketing and the promotions to those customer segments. And there are so many ways that they do that, not just with what you're buying, sometimes with your age group. They can do so much with your data. Spotify and Netflix use data literacy to recommend songs and movies based on your previous searches. Extremely correct. Tesla would use data on product feedback and customer insights for further product. I like that. Okay, so it was Yinka. No, I can't see that one. Yeah, a professional. No. But yes, that's a very, very, I like the sound of that. That's exactly what Tesla used. And that's how to think about it from a business perspective. GT Bank for customer support and feedback for top services. That's very true. Customer support in the sense that sometimes, when you have complaints, when they count it and they see, oh, this person has been lodging complaints continuously, then they probably figure out that, look, this person might be leaving the bank soon. Like it helps them to also monitor the attrition rates because they are following through with that data. So Airbnb for targeted marketing based on user history and upselling. Perfect. Jumia and Amazon use location, search, and persona data to suggest products. That is beautiful. So I think that we have all understood how top performing businesses are driven by data literacy. So maybe I'll just touch on the ones that nobody talked about. So Flutterwave, just like InterSwitch, would analyze transaction data and their customer behavior so that they can, use that data to better their product and better the services that they're providing to their customers. So they can optimize the payment processes and drive business growth. For example, if you are doing a Flutterwave transaction, and let's say it takes 20 seconds, and they see that everybody's angry about that from the data that they collected, and they said, oh, this thing takes longer than usual, they can optimize their payment processes and keep their customers happier, right? I think that's about it. I think everyone has also mentioned every other thing. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. I have 10 seconds more. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that this was insightful for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shay. And thank you especially for being right on time. And yes, some people were still dropping other suggestions. GC Bank uses spending habits, and they also harvest sentimental data from social media. So I think since this person spoke about this, I would just say something. And what stood out to me the most from what Shay said, like the general thing that we know is that, oh, you need data literacy helps you to know how to use data to drive your business, or how to know which products people are buying the most and things like that. But a part that we miss out a lot, and especially small businesses, is the data privacy part and data governance part. So for example, you have a small business and you have lots of people, you have a database sort of your customers, and this other friend of yours, or maybe even your sister, maybe you sell hair, and your sister has a salon, and you just feel like, oh, when people buy hair from me, they can also just go and plait it in my sister's salon. It's fine if you use your mouth to tell people when they buy hair and say, oh, feel free to plait your hair at so and so salon. But what is against data literacy is you carrying the database of all your customers and giving to your sister. And then she can send them messages and say, and you will be doing it in good faith. And your sister will even say things like, oh, I got your number from Olanyika. She sells hair to you. I make braids and I make nice braids. So you can come and make your braids in my shop. And that's by doing that, you have violated people's data literacy by giving their information to your sister without getting their consent. And you may think that, oh, it's nothing. But until somebody sues your small business and all the profit you have been making since 4 years, you're paying it to somebody in damages. So data privacy is something that we need to take very, very important. And that's even why, like how you use people's data, I think it's called GDPR. I don't know what the full meaning is, but it's something about data privacy regulations is very important. Even if, for example, you have, for example, Analytics Africa, or you have another group that you formed and you ask people to sign up for your event. If people sign up for your event, it doesn't automatically mean that you can continue using their emails and be inviting them for future events. For you to do that, you need to put a note in the place where they're signing up that says, oh, I agree that I can be invited for future events. Because if you don't do all of those, you are really violating people's data privacy and you can get into trouble for it. So it's just something that really stood out for me in what Shay said, and especially for small businesses. So that is that for me. Okay, someone just shared Nigeria data privacy implementation framework. There's a link on the chat. So if you're interested in reading more, I mean, I've given a few examples, but maybe you understand better things that you should avoid and things that you can do and cannot do so that you don't get into trouble. So we can check out that link. If anybody still has a question, there's no question in the chat. If anybody has a question that they want to speak out and ask, you can raise up your hand now and I'll call you to ask your question. Thank you, Toby, for posting the link in the chat. You can click on the link for more details around Nigeria DPR laws. But yes, if you still have anybody that has a question, please, you can raise up your hand now and I will hand you the mic. I would just wait for 30 seconds. If I don't see any hands, then we'll move on. Okay. I don't see any hands, so maybe that means we don't have any question. I think Shay and Tosin, our hosts, did a very fantastic job. And thank you especially for the icebreakers and all of that. If there are no questions, I think we saved some time, and that would be the end of today's session. Okay, sorry, Shei's hand is now up.
Sorry, Inka. So just if there are no questions, it means you all understood everything that was taught today. So please drop what you learned in the chat box so that we know that we did not waste our time talking and you didn't understand us, please. Thank you.
Okay, so Shei is saying that if you feel that or you want to make us believe that you really understand, can just drop a line of what you learned or what stood out for you. It could be in Tosin's session, it could be in Shei's session. Just drop it in the chat. And while you're dropping that, just a few announcements. We intend to do a lot more of these sessions either every month or bi-monthly, but we would also like to have your feedback. We have a lineup of things that we intend to be talking about, but if you have a suggestion on something that we should talk about or that you think it's important for us to discuss, then you can drop them in the chat and we would find guests, we would find capable guests to speak about them. Also, a few other announcements, like Tosin said earlier, for anybody who joined late, we're going to be launching, Analytics Africa is going to be launching a course in data literacy. It's a power-packed and it's a very comprehensive course. So please do look out for it on our social media pages. Let me paste the link to our LinkedIn in the chat so that you can follow us on LinkedIn so that you would not miss all of these announcements. So make sure that you follow us on our social media pages so that you can get all of these announcements or all of this information. Apart from the course, we would also be launching. So I was saying we're going to be launching a data literacy course in August. So follow us so that you can get the announcements when we launch it. Also, we will be launching our new improved websites, all of that in August. So when we launch it, you would see it. Just follow us on LinkedIn so that you will get all of those information when we announce them. Again, I see a lot of people dropping what they learned. Again, we're open to feedback on what things you think we can do better with the sessions and what other concepts, what other topics you would like us to speak about in future sessions. Like I said, we have a line up of wants to hear from people what you would like us to talk about. That would be all the announcements from me. If Tosin has any final words, then you can go on before we close.
Nothing much. Yes, thank you everyone for coming. I'm very, very grateful. I appreciate you. Yinka just dropped our email address in the group chat, and Shei, thank you. I wish I can call everybody's names, but we are quite many. And thank you everyone, those who we know and those who we don't know, but trusted us well enough to join the course. Thank you very much. And we promise to not go off again like we did in the past and to consistently give you a lot of good vibes going forward. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you so much, Shei. We appreciate you. And thank you for giving us a little challenge to see how we can apply this. Yes, and it's okay. It's okay. It's goodbye from me, and I'm seeing you in August. Over to you, Yinka.
Okay, then. This brings us to the end of today's broadcast on Analytics Africa. See you, same station next month. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.